Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of What Do You Call It podcast. I'm your host, GB. Today's guest is the Southwest Spitfire. I was going to do a gesture then, but I don't know how you do that for the name. A Black and Brave graduate. Please give it up for Valentina Loca. How you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing great. It's nice and sunny here in good old Davenport, Iowa. I'm really happy to be here, really happy to hang out. So yeah, thanks for having me on.
Awesome. Thank you for coming on. It's actually not too bad here. I mean, it's a bit late at the moment. Well, not too late, but the weather's quite nice. I can't complain. I might even get a tan. Who knows?
Hey,
even though I'm brown already. I've been working on it already. You know, I'm feeling a bit pale at the moment because of the winter, but you know, I've got like a chart at the moment how dark I want to get to.
Right, exactly.
I'm just waffling on, but no, it's good to have you on. We had a good chat just before recording. There is one thing I want to talk about before we talk about your wrestling career, because it's a popular TV show and Breaking Bad, very popular, and the listeners, I think 9 out of 10 will know what the show is, and I enjoyed it, but I want to hear from you because it's a show that I know you're a fan of and that you embrace it. What is it about the show that you embrace, that you really like to sort of involve, sort of including your character that I've noticed?
Oh man, I think it's like a multifaceted kind of interest that I had. First, I guess, is like the more obvious of the reasons why is that I'm from New Mexico. I'm billed from Albuquerque, which is where Breaking Bad actually takes place, like in the show. So
I should have put two and two together. Damn.
Exactly. Yeah. So I thought, like, how can I incorporate that? Because like not a lot of wrestlers are from New Mexico. I don't think I can name more than probably 5 that are like notable on the independents right now. Even like in bigger name companies, I don't think there's anybody like from New Mexico proper. So just like with my vibe and kind of the way I like to present myself, I try to like represent New Mexico in all facets. Like we're more than just like chili and Hispanic people and stuff like that. So I really wanted to bring in the Breaking Bad element as well, because Breaking Bad was such just a revolutionary show, just in terms of like the writing, the character development, the cinematography, like all of it was just fantastic, even if it wasn't set in Albuquerque. But the fact that it was, I think, was just kind of like the no-brainer for me. I was like, I have to do something with this. Absolutely. So
it is a brilliant show.
Yes. So like just those main facets, I would say, are like the biggest reasons why I like to incorporate it in everything that I do. Like in certain shows, like whenever I have like a big match or it's like a big event, I guess like the best analogy I can give for it is like, you know, when Finn Balor puts on like the face paint and like becomes like the demon for like those really big matches. I like to think that whenever I put like the hazmat suit on and like the gas mask and like we're ready to make some meth, like, you know, it's going down. You know, it's a big
doing the family show. What's to cook meth with me?
Right. Who wants some meth? Right. But no, in all seriousness, like I just think the show is great. And I think also in terms of just the landscape of independent wrestling, there's not really anything out there like that. Like at least tapping into like that kind of vibe, I guess, if I could describe it. So yeah, man, that's just pretty much the 2 biggest points to why that's a big part of my deal.
I had to ask. I do like it. And I want to ask as well. I mean, I don't think it's going to be Skylar White, but who is your favorite character?
Oh gosh, that's so
I'll put you on the spot. Sorry.
I love obviously like one of like the more obvious answers would be like, oh, Heisenberg, because he's like super cool and he undergoes like this crazy transformation. But I really like Jesse. I think Jesse is like who I personally seen myself in more than anything else. Like a person who's just trying to make it, has been kind of dealt like a poor hand in life, but he's still like, you know, like trying to make the best go of things.
Keep going. Always finds a way.
He keeps going, and he gets kidnapped. And not to spoil anything for anybody if you haven't seen Breaking Bad, but he just goes through all of these things. Like he gets beat up like a million times, but he still keeps coming back. And
drink every time he says "bitch." The word "bitch," you will be hammered or plastered. What you say in America? Honestly, you'll be on the floor by the end of an episode.
Absolutely, and so I would say probably just off the top of my head, probably Jesse, just because he's great. And I think like if anybody has seen like El Camino, which is the the kind of epilogue series after Breaking Bad, he gets like a nice little happy ending. So I love that for him.
I thought that was good. I know some fans will be critical of it, but I enjoyed it. I'm trying to finish Better Call Saul at the moment, so I won't discuss that too much because I need to play catch up on it as well. I don't remember it as well, but Breaking Bad, loved it. Thought it was brilliant.
Eisenberg's. I won't. Yeah, I won't spoil Better Call Saul for you, but like it's real good because I'm watching it like weekly as it comes out on TV, and it's getting real good. I won't spoil.
So I can't do that. I cannot. Good. I mean, with wrestling, I can do it on a weekly basis, but TV shows, I have to watch them all in once. I have to binge watch them. I'm very impatient. Like Walking Dead, I just gave up. I'm not waiting a week for this crap.
Right.
So if there's anyone that likes that show, I do apologize. But no, that's cool. I wanted to discuss about Breaking Bad. I wanted to find out what the elements were, why you incorporate into your, into your wrestling gimmick as well. But we can go back to the wrestling. How I know you from as well. What was your first memory of wrestling?
Wow, like it's so funny whenever I get this question. Not because it's something that I answer a lot, because I absolutely don't. But like, the fact is that like the memory itself is super random and like completely like I don't want to say like non-important because everything in wrestling is really cool, but like my brother was really big into wrestling and he's like greatly older than I am, like enough to be like my dad old. My family's weird, but he had moved in with us when I was about, I want to say like 8 or 9. And he put on wrestling and I had never seen it before in my life. And so I just kind of stumbled on in the living room because we only had one TV in our house. And I was just kind of being nosy and seeing what he was doing. And the match that was on the TV, it was Monday Night Raw. And I can't remember who else was in it, but I do remember it was like Trish Stratus and someone else, and they were doing like a contract on a pole match or something on a pole match, and I was just like, "What is this? What are these girls doing? Like, this is just a mess." And I just thought it was cool, and here we are. So,
who were some of your favorites then? Would I safely assume Trish Stratus, or was it when you watched it more, you actually developed maybe more passion for other wrestlers?
Yeah, I definitely like Trish a lot. I definitely enjoyed her, even if she wasn't like the nicest of people as her wrestling character.
Oh, right. Sorry, I thought it was a story there. Sorry, I was like, never heard that.
Got you there, right? Swerve.
Absolutely did.
That's some clickbait right there. I have the scoop.
Sean Ross Sapp. Got a guest.
Right. but yeah, she played an excellent heel, and I thought that was still really great. Even as a kid, I was able to respect it. But I would say just like the two main people that really had like a chokehold on me in my childhood was like Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio. Yes. I thought, not great only taste. Because like obviously they're just great wrestlers and just awesome characters, but like I think at that time, like the representation was like the most important thing to me. Like not only were they great wrestlers, but they were like wrestlers that looked like me. Like they were Hispanic. They were proud to be Hispanic, like they were doing their thing. And I was like, man, that is so awesome. That is so cool. And so I really just gravitated towards that. And even to this day, like now that I've become like a wrestler myself, representation is so important to me. And I feel like if I can show other people out there that there are people that look like them that are doing what I'm doing, like if I can give them that same feeling, man, like that's the good stuff. That's all I want.
No, that's awesome. You got great taste there. I mean, Eddie Guerrero is someone who I've mentioned a lot for the show, not just with the guests, but myself. Like he was one of my favorites, and I actually called in sick to school to meet him before he died. And so I always cherished that. It was absolutely worth it. You see the photo of me, I went like a tracksuit and a hoodie so I could hide myself. Totally worth it. Totally worth it. I didn't know at the time, but yeah. But he was so inspirational, I think. And there's fans that didn't necessarily know who he was when they were growing up after his death, but they've come back and watched like the network and they've discovered him. And, where we've had the luxury of watching him when we were younger and just realised how good he was. And Ray's brilliant as well. I mean, the fact that he's nearly 50 and he's...
I know.
Mental.
Oh my goodness, I'll watch him to this day and I'm like, sir, who has you doing all these things still? Like, it's great. I love that for you, but oh my goodness, you are getting up there. But like, good for him. That's awesome. I think to this day he's still killing it.
Oh, absolutely. Like, and I feel like he's got his son, to continue the legacy as well, but teaming up with him as well. It's awesome. It is awesome. If there's one match that you could choose, there's something I've been asked recently, and you get some fun answers. There's one match you can go back in time, you can pick it to attend, to be there live. As a fan, what match would you pick?
Oh, I would pick, and this is also like my favorite match of all time too. I would definitely go back to WrestleMania 21, and I would go to like that opener with Eddie and Rey when they opened the show. I think that is like the match that I definitely would go back and see, because not only excuse me, were those like my two favorite wrestlers at the time, like doing battle at WrestleMania. But like it was my first WrestleMania that I ever got to watch too. And like growing up, we didn't have like a whole lot of money growing up. So like the idea of buying like this like $55 pay-per-view was like almost infeasible. It's like, oh yeah, you'll get to buy a pay-per-view whenever you win the lottery. But me and my best friend at the time, who was also my cousin, we literally just like hustled around the neighborhood. Like we cut people's lawns, we walked people's dogs, we did homework for people just to raise money. And so between the two of us, we were able to raise enough money to buy the pay-per-view. And we were able to watch WrestleMania 21 at my house. And then just having them like open the show and, it just like blew my mind on like several levels. So I think for nostalgia and then for my own sentimental purposes, I think that would definitely be like the match that I would go and see.
I've got so much respect for you, by the way, for doing that just to get a pay-per-view. Like, I think a lot of people can learn from that if they're listening out there, if they feel maybe they're a bit spoiled, realizing what people have to do sometimes. That's awesome. That's quality. I just used to brown nose a lot and beg and cry. And I'll do the dishes. Yeah, I'll take the rubbish out. Yeah.
Right.
My mum does listen to this. No, I'm joking. I love you, mum. No, that's cool. That's cool. When was it that you knew that you wanted to become a professional wrestler?
Honestly, like, it was never really a thought for me growing up, and I'll explain why. Like, it wasn't because I didn't love it. Hold on a second. No You gotta love neighborhood living. I love it.
I thought they were that excited about my podcast. I thought, awesome.
I'm saying, they're like, we need to come check out what's going on over here. But yes, like I was saying, I think, gosh, I totally lost the plot. What was the question?
That's cool. That's absolutely fine. I was trying off a little bit as well. When did you know that you wanted to become a professional wrestler?
Gotcha. Oh man, we're live, pal. You'd love to see it. Yes. I did not originally intend this to be my life, and the reason was because like not because I didn't love wrestling and not because it wasn't like anything that I wanted to do, because believe me, like throughout my life, this was the only thing that I wanted to do, is just to be involved in the wrestling business somehow.
Yeah.
But growing up, I wasn't necessarily like encouraged to do a lot of athletics, and then mainly too because athletics are expensive, especially like when you're a kid and you have to like buy uniforms and stuff like that. I wasn't really encouraged to do athletics, so therefore I didn't grow up as like an inherently athletic person. And for your guests that may or may not know of me, I am only 4'10", and I'm only about 100 pounds. So obviously with that stature as well, it's like, well, I can't be like a wrestler. Like these people are like huge and jacked, and I don't know, I just wouldn't belong. And I almost had the mentality that like, I respect wrestling too much to bring like my terribleness into the wrestling business. Yeah. So I was like, this is not going to be for me. And then, it turns out that actually in college, I, on a whim, just decided to join like an MMA club. Like there's people who just had mats and rolled around and sparred and did boxing. And I was like, sure, why not? Like I'm in a new town, I'm trying to make friends. Let me just see if like punching people in the face and getting punched will get me there. So I did end up doing that for about a whole year in college. And I remember really distinctly, the head of like the MMA club comes up to me and he goes, hey, like you're actually like pretty decent at this. He's like, you can like, if you want to like consider like doing this as like maybe like a career, like you maybe, because like UFC for women was really starting to pop off at that time. That was like 2014 2015 at that time.
Yeah, well, I wonder was actually the main events, and they were drawing more money than the men.
Absolutely. So that's why my trainer, I call him my trainer, but he was just like a fellow student. And he was like, yeah, he's like, you're actually picking up things pretty decently. He's like, because we were doing like different styles of everything, like boxing, Brazilian, judo, everything. So he told me that, and it was almost like a light bulb went off in my head. I was like, interesting. And so I was like, if I can do this stuff, which is, I don't want to compare them in terms of athleticism, but like, it's like a same vein of like combat sports, I suppose. Yeah. So like, I thought to myself, well, if I can like do this, and he's telling me that like I can actually like do something with this if I really wanted to, then like why don't I just go do what I wanted to do in the first place, which is wrestling? Because like as much as I enjoyed doing MMA, I wasn't really like a big UFC fan. I didn't really watch like the events. I was just kind of like, this is fine. But rounding about that story, I started looking into places. I was like, cool, let me see what's in town. And again, with New Mexico not being like a really big hotspot for wrestling, there wasn't really like any training schools around me. There wasn't really any, or anything like reputable that I would feel comfortable giving my money to and not hurting me. So then that was around the time that Seth Rollins had opened up his school here in Davenport. And he was like doing interviews about it and stuff. And I was like, well, that's interesting. Like, excuse me. I was a really big fan of the Shield at that time. So I was like, heck yeah, like, let me look into this. You know, that's cool. Like, I like the dude on TV, so, and he's a pretty good wrestler. So, like, why not?
Like, why wouldn't I? Like, it's just opening school up.
Yeah, exactly. And so it turned out by the grace of the Lord that his school was actually located literally like 40 minutes from where my brother lived. My brother, the same one who got me into wrestling in the first place. And I was like, this is a sign. I need to get up and go. And so I did. And I started wrestling training in about 2017. And yeah, here I am. Life is weird that way.
No, awesome. There are things I do want to pick apart of what you said. First of all, you for your brother, when did he fall out of love with wrestling, or was he still into it as a fan?
Not really. He kind of like fell out of it too, because like he's already like plenty old now. Like if he was old before, like he's like plenty old now. So like he was still like he knew of it, but he hadn't watched wrestling, I would say, in like the last like 10, 15 years. So he didn't really know who like Seth Rollins was. He just knew that like if somebody was working for the WWE, it must be, you know, quality school. So yeah, that's pretty much where my brother was at. He was always supportive of it, which is really cool, because I feel like when you're chasing a dream, like having people support you isn't necessarily a given. So that's something I definitely have always like kept in mind to be appreciative of.
No, I respect that. Just before I will go back to the Back and Brave Wrestling Academy, but has he seen you wrestle before, by the way?
He's seen me wrestle once, and that was, I believe, like 4 years ago. It was like when I just started. And so I'm trying to get him out to like do more stuff and wrestle and you know, really kind of include him. But he's also had like a little bit of health issues lately, so he doesn't get to go out and do a lot of things very often. So the fact that he was able to see me like once is really awesome. That's all I need.
Okay, no, sorry to hear that, by the way. I'm just going to go back to the Back and Brave Wrestling Academy. What was your first impression of it when you did go there?
Oh man, I guess to put it bluntly, like there's no other way to really describe it, is that like I was ready to just like shit. I felt like I was completely over my head. Like I was like, what am I doing here? I remember we had like a hard deadline of when we needed to be there for the first class, and it was like 7 p.m. on like a January evening, and I had gotten into town since my brother lived pretty close by early, but like we couldn't come in early. Like it had to be 7 on the dot. So I was like, okay, cool. So I was so nervous that like I went to like the local public library that was down the road from the gym. And like I was just so overwhelmed that I just went and I just like cried in the bathroom of like the public library, because I just could not imagine that this was like about to be my life. And I was just like grateful, nervous, anxious, really happy in a way. It's just like a bunch of emotions just everywhere. So that was definitely my first impression of, at least of the school and of what I was about to embark on, for sure.
It is a school that has a good reputation. I've had I think you might be in there same time, maybe not. Ziggy Dice, I've had him on the show, graduate from the Back and Brave. How's he, by the way?
He is fantastic. I talked to him about a week ago, because me and him were supposed to be on the same show in Canada, but snow ruined my life. I didn't get to go, and that would have been like the first time I actually seen him in person in a few years, so that was disappointing. But yeah, he's great. He was around when I was training, and yeah, he's a fantastic dude, isn't he? He's so fun.
He certainly is outlandish. I like him. He's cool. I really liked him. He kind of made me feel special. Just like, I need to stop being a fan and go back to being a host. But no, he's cool. I really like him. He certainly lights up the room. But nah, he's cool. We're happy to see him in Impact as well. The school itself, I'm going to ask about Seth Rollins first. I will ask about Merit Brave. but Seth Rollins is someone you knew first before the school. What was sort of like your interactions with him? Did you find yourself marking out a little bit? Because the reason I ask is I've had people before and they've interacted with famous wrestlers as coaches, and some have said yes, some have said no. But I want to hear from you. What was your interactions like with Seth freaking Rollins?
I guess I'll give you like my first impression. The way that I really went into wrestling training is that like I was very tunnel vision. Like as soon as I knew I was going to wrestling training, like I was ready to go. So I made it a point before I even started wrestling training to go to 2 WrestleManias. I went to the WrestleMania in San Jose where he actually like won the title, which was really, really cool.
That's a quality show.
Right. And then I went to it's just, to be there in person and knowing that I was going to be at his school in like the next year and a half was like.
That's mental actually.
And then the year after that was in Dallas and I went to that one as well. So I had like an internal list of like all the wrestlers that I knew I would kind of like mark out for. And I was like, cool, I'm going to meet them all as a fan. So once I start wrestling training, I have no excuse to be like weird because I've already met them before. So Mr. Seth freaking Rollins was one of those people that I had met before I started wrestling training.
Okay, yeah.
So I met him at like a WrestleMania Access type deal. So, but obviously, like when I started wrestling training, I wasn't going to be one of those people that are like, "Do you remember me from a year and a half ago?"
I chewed up 3 hours for you. You shook my hand.
Absolutely not. So
we made eye contact.
Exactly. But so when I did start training, and the first class was there, and he's there all the time. Like that's another question people ask is like, how much is he there? All the time, literally. So when he was there for my first class, he had actually showed up late, which is hilarious because Merrick, while he was going over the rules with us about the school, one of his biggest rules was do not be late. Because if you're late, I'm going to be really mad and I'm going to be like, I'm going to give you like 1 million burpees to do, like whatever. So we had that like locked in, do not be late. So then like we're all listening to him really intently and I hear the door open and I just like go to like death glare. I'm like, who dares to be late? And then it's like Seth Rollins walking in the door. I'm like, oh no, oh my God. So
did he have a go at him, or was it just like maybe all right, not everyone be late?
Yeah, no, it was just casual. There wasn't really a big thing about it because obviously it's his gym and his school, so he can show up whenever he wants to.
Merrick Brave, I've heard really good things about him as a coach and like his mind for the business in terms of his knowledge that he passed on to the students. But I want to hear from you, someone that's actually been around him. How was he to deal with?
Yeah, he's a guy, and I say that because he's just like so multifaceted as a person. Like I feel like I can't give you one word just to like encompass exactly who he is. Like he's a great coach. You know, I feel like he does a great job in like getting us prepared to what we need to endure, at least on the independent level for wrestling. Like, and he also does a really great job of like instilling like a thick skin in us, like, you know, because he's like, not everyone is going to be nice to you. So this is how the world's going to be. And, but like in a very tough love kind of way, like there has never been a time where I haven't felt like cared about or valued as like a student. And so I think that he definitely like deserves some recognition as well for like the work he's doing as a coach. And now after having like a really lingering neck injury, he just started wrestling again, which is really awesome because
really, is he wrestling again? I thought he was retired. I didn't know that.
This is very recent though, so like within the last month or recent. So very much so that's very exciting for like the new crop of Black and Brave students that haven't gotten to see that, because when I was going through my training, he was still an active wrestler, so I got to experience that and see him work and see how his kind of like thought process in terms of like putting together matches and character work all comes together. So when he stopped wrestling, obviously he's still a phenomenal coach because his mind is still great, but the kids didn't really get to like see that in action. So the fact that they get to do that now, I think is really great.
No, that's wicked. That is absolutely wicked. I want to hear from you. What were some of your biggest challenges in training?
Everything. I don't say that lightly or as an exaggeration.
No, that's cool. That's cool.
Very much just bad at everything. Like everything that had to do with athletics. Like my promo was on point. Like when we had to cut promos for the first time, they were like, yeah, that was really good. Did you practice that? And I was like, not really. I kind of did it off the cuff. So talking and character work and kind of being a personality was never really a struggle for me, but just athletics. Like, where do I put my hands? Where do I put my feet? I don't know what to do. Help me. Like that kind of thing. So it took a very long time for me to kind of figure out what I do in wrestling and how I do it and really how to do it well. So when I tell people like wrestling is not just, you know, doing cool flips and stuff like that, like it's real hard work to make sure that like your stuff looks good and to also make sure that the person you're working with to make sure their stuff looks good as well. So definitely athleticism was not kind to me, but I'd like to think that it was my work ethic and really like my passion to really want to be a part of wrestling that kind of pushed me through.
Nah, that's awesome. I have seen some of your promos, by the way. Yeah, I can tell just by the interview as well. Like you're comfortable with speaking, like you're not necessarily shy. It does, I think it comes out more in promos when the camera's on. Like it sort of amps up your character in wrestling in general. I think you get told that a lot from the fans and then wrestlers. Like who you are as a wrestler is turned up. Yeah,
exactly.
Awesome. I just want to ask about your debut. When did you make your official debut inside the ring?
See, that's also a funny question because I like to think I have two different dates, and I'll explain why.
Yeah, no, go for it.
Yeah, when I first graduated from the school and like I was done with training, they're like, go off into the wild. I'd actually like banged up my ankle pretty bad. Like I had a pretty bad, like, I think it was, I don't even remember what it was called. It was like a specific medical term for it where like it wasn't broken and I hadn't like broken a ligament or anything, but it was like really bad. Like I had like a tennis ball on like the side of my ankle. Like it was just huge and we couldn't figure out like what had happened with it. So the options for me were either like wear a boot for 2 months or get like a screw right now in your ankle. And I'm like, I just started wrestling. I'm only 21. I'm not getting any kind of metal in my body. Like, no, thank you. So what I did is I ended up opting for the boot. But what I did beforehand, before the boot, is I was in like a battle royal with my fellow classmates because to this day, my graduating class of Black and Brave was the biggest one so far. We graduated with 13 people. So that's awesome. You know, wrestling is hard and people drop out for various reasons, but we had enough to do a whole little battle royal. So we did. So I got to do that battle royal in July of 2017. And again, like didn't really do a whole lot because it's a battle royal. So I didn't have any really concerns about my ankle at that time. But after that battle royal, I had to get in the boot. I had to be in it for 2 months consistently, like night and day. It was awful. But then,
that sounds awful.
Yeah, especially
I was in the boot, but I didn't have to wear it all day. So just the fact that you had to wear it night and day, I'm sorry to hear that. Like it wound me up, and that's only for a few hours.
Yeah, no joke. And then I was even at the house that I lived in. I lived in like I slept on a bunk bed, and I was on the top in a boot.
Oh, bless you, honestly. So there is a happy ending to this, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. I mean, I'm still at it, so I think that's a pretty happy conclusion. But after I got out of the boot, I kid you not, maybe it was like 5 days after I gotten out of the boot, I did a seminar with Dr. Tom Pritchard in Chicago.
Nice,
which is awesome. Yeah,
you hear very good things about him when it comes to his training.
Absolutely, and like I just. Knowing like his background and who the people he's trained, I just had an enormous respect for him. So the fact that I got to learn from him at such an early point in my career was like, so here I am, never had a match yet, and at least not like a singles match in front of people, like because the battle royal was the battle royal, but I wouldn't really consider it like a match. So I was doing my thing in the seminar, just doing things as best as I can. And then the booker from the show in the middle of the seminar kind of pulls me out to the side and goes, hey, we're going to put you on the show. And I said, what? Mind you.
Me?
Me, exactly. Didn't have gear. Didn't really know what I did. Literally just got out of a boot like 5 days before. This is my first time being in a ring in like 2 months. So I'm just like, oh no. And you can't say no because this was during Shimmer weekend. This was a Shimmer weekend.
Was that, so that's when you made your debut? You actually made your debut at Shimmer?
Yeah. During that weekend, I made my debut during Shimmer weekend.
That is pretty bonkers, not gonna lie. And that's Shimmer's a well-known company. Like, if you need to make your first match after recovering from your injury, that's awesome.
So yeah, just completely mind-blowing when he was like, yeah, we're gonna have you this person. It was just gonna be like a squash, nothing crazy. And then I was gonna get saved by Soraya Knight, Paige's mom. So what a world, right? Small.
That's still pressure,
crazy.
though. That's still a lot of pressure, though, because obviously it's streaming devices, DVDs, online. You know, it's
absolutely. So I just really had no idea what to do with myself. I was not expecting to start wrestling as soon as I did, but when opportunity comes, you can't just be like, no thanks, I don't want to wrestle on the biggest like women's
not
wrestling weekend of the year.
No, that's
exactly.
wicked. Because you have wrestled at Shimmer and the sister company, right? Is it right?
Yeah, Rise. Yep.
Rise.
And
it
so
was Rise. Right. Yes. I just want to ask how your experience overall has been, because I know you've done multiple shows.
Oh, it's awesome, man. I'm really sad that it's not running anymore, because it's such a fantastic environment for like women and women's wrestling. But knowing that I got to take part in it for as little as it was, like, is just something that I definitely carry as like a feather in my cap. Like, I think Shimmer was, at least for me, just like a very big goal. And I didn't think it was something that I would like reach. But the fact that I did in such a short amount of time is just like mind blowing. And so, you know, sometimes it's hard to really stop and smell the roses. But when you think about things like that, you're like, yeah, actually, like, life's pretty cool in its own weird way.
I like that. You appreciate it as well. That's awesome. You look back and we're discussing now, and you've got a smile on your face when you are talking about it. That is pretty cool. Shimmer was probably my introduction to like women's wrestling outside of WWE. You know, when WWE had that, not like the Trish era, but like the Divas era, when it was just like 2-minute matches, and yeah, it sort of opened my eyes up to like the whole new world of women's wrestling. So that it's a company that I knew, and I saw that you wrestled, and I watched some of your matches there as well, and Rise, and that's awesome that you've been a part of it. But there are a few talents that I want to mention that you have wrestled as well, because you've wrestled some, and you've shared the ring with some top tier talents. Zoe Lucas from the UK, cheap plug.
Yes.
Thunder Rosa, awesome. Shotzi, Holiday.
Yes.
So the reason I mentioned so many names, but I actually want to ask you, who have been some of your favorite opponents that you've been in the ring with in your career so far? Because it's still early days for you.
Yeah, man. I think like those people that you named were awesome to work with. Like, I think the chance that I had, at least being so early in my career, to work with like such top tier talent was like super appreciated, even if I felt like it was more of like, what am I doing here kind of vibe. But like, definitely I would put those people up there. But also I recently got to have a match with Ivelisse, if you know her from Tough Enough, from TNA, from everywhere,
from AEW,
anywhere that's anywhere. Yeah, and she was just fantastic to work with. Like, I think I was very nervous because she was also somebody that I like respected very much as like a worker, and I really considered it like a test of myself. To like, if I could hang with her, I think I'm doing something right. Like, if I can just kind of not only, you know, make it through, but if I can actually like do well, I think that was like a good measuring stick for me.
So like head to head, toes to toe sort of thing. Yeah, absolutely.
And I think with having that in mind, like, it really kind of gave me like a self-confidence boost that I needed. Because, you know, you can think that you're doing well, or you can think that you're doing poorly, but if you don't have something to kind of use like a measuring stick, it's kind of hard to really perceive what's real and what's not.
Yeah.
So I think having that match as of late was really helpful to at least my growth as a performer, because again, I don't really have too much of an opportunity to work with like high level ladies. So any chance that I get, like, especially in that circumstance, was like awesome. And the funniest thing, and the funny little note about that too is that if your listeners and you know of Ivelisse and like her whole aesthetic, she also does like a hat and like a bandana, and she's also like Hispanic, and she kind of has a vibe.
Oh yeah.
A little bit. So when we were putting our stuff together, I made the joke that like the match was going to be like the Spider-Man meme, where like they're like pointing at each other.
The two doinks, yep.
So yeah, that was a really, at least recently, that was a good experience that I had.
How did you discover your look, by the way? Because I was going to ask about that. I think it makes you stand out, sort of the bandana and the hats as well. And I've seen you wearing Chuck Taylors before. I just want to ask, like, how did you sort of incorporate that look into your wrestling appearance?
I think really just came down to like taking things from different places that inspired me, whether it be from like wrestling or otherwise. Like, I really enjoy, at least outside of wrestling, like I enjoy like hip hop culture a lot. I grew up on hip hop. Nice. I'm a really big hip hop head. So I have like a bunch of hats. I have a bunch of sneakers. You know, I rock those pretty much on the daily, and that's coming from like just, you know, being around that. And then also, I think like growing up too, going back to like the representation bit, I really enjoyed like LAX when they were in TNA. I thought that was really awesome. Like Homicide,
I love them.
Hernandez.
And Conan, they were brilliant. Them feuding with AJ Styles and Daniels. Magic.
Absolutely.
Magic.
So I kind of tried to take some aesthetic from that. Like the way I kind of described my gimmick to people, at least in my first year of wrestling, because I wore like the Conan flannel and like the bandana, and I was just like full on, like, I'm taking this from you. So I would tell people I'm like Homicide if like you put him in a dryer and he came out female. That was kind of like the vibe that I was going for.
I have to like just do a Photoshop of that now. Just
and
use it as like the thumbnail. The thumbnail for this whole conversation.
That's the podcast. Yes, I love it. And then just like trying things different out and developing and seeing how I can stand out from people. And like with the Southwest Spitfire being the moniker that I have, really reflecting that in like different ways. So like in the hair, like I have like red kind of here and orange kind of here. And then trying to emphasize that in like the gear too. Like I had a New Mexico set of gear that was really cool. I had like a red set of gear, and now I'm kind of dabbling in like a white one piece hazmat-y kind of gear. So just really coming up with things that I think would look cool.
But I don't feel it's something like not just to look cool, but I feel like it's something you would actually wear as well, like outside of the ring as well.
Absolutely. So because if it's not authentic to me, it's not going to be authentic to people. Like I'm not gonna dress up like a cowgirl because that's it's like because I'm not a cowgirl.
At least shows up Brett. I think it's like to Vince who's like, I don't want to be a cowboy. When he gets signed to WWE, he's like, I don't want to be that. But that is cool. I'm glad that he's sort of explained that. And also shout out to you, like inside the crater. Love him. Seen him twice. I saw it in your Twitter. I was just like, yes. Just had to give a shout out for that. Tyler Crater. What a man. Odd Future and all that. Oh, what? It's like one of my favorite gigs I've been to. And I literally paid like, I don't know, equivalent to America, like $10. It was just before he blew up. So I thought I'd share that. So
yeah, absolutely, man. Heck yeah, I'm all about it.
One last question, and it's not necessarily wrestling related, but I think every answer is different for this question. It can be fun, don't worry, it's nothing bad. If you can pick 3 dream dinner guests, past, present, historical figures, it can be entirely up to you. It's your dream party. You're the host. You are going to have them all on a table. You want to pick their brains. 3 people. I've had someone say Jesus.
Ooh, that's interesting.
I mean, you don't have to say Jesus, but I've had people just do wrestling because wrestling's been in their mind for the conversation. This is up to you. It doesn't matter. But 3 dream dinner guests. If you can explain as well why, that would be awesome. But yeah, 3 names. Go for it.
Okay, let me think about this. And you said they can be dead, right?
Dead or alive. Historical.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. All right, awesome. Well, I guess I'll go with like an obvious choice for now before I get too deep into thought. I would definitely invite, for one, I would definitely invite Machine Gun Kelly because I think he's great. And I would love to just pick his brain about things because not only do I enjoy his music, but I really just enjoy him as a person. Like, he's somebody who's really, at least like from the deep dives that I've gone on, like interviews, whole discography, like I'm down the rabbit hole bad.
I think it's right. I think it's become cool to hate him. I like him. Even when he did the diss to Eminem, I was like, man, you got a set on you. And I thought the rap was good. Yeah,
absolutely. So just like knowing kind of like the adversity that he grew up in, not discounting the Eminem feud, but just like knowing the things that he came from and still like becoming successful despite all of it.
Yeah.
I just would love to know kind of like what stuff are you made of? Because I want to be made of that too. Not that like I want to be in a position where everyone hates me and I have to deal with that every day.
Yeah.
But like it's the principle. It's the principle. So.
I understand. I actually understand. Like I don't want the hate that comes with you, but I just want like you to explain yourself. That's all.
Yeah, like what makes you tick? What's your deal, brother? Because I just think he's a cool ass person. Like hell yeah.
Tick? I like that.
So yeah, he would probably be the first person. And I heard he likes tequila. I'm also dabbling myself into some tequila, so maybe we could chat about that.
Nice.
And then I think as well, I think I would invite Eddie just because I would love to pick his brain about wrestling. I heard he was a great person to talk to just from like interviews and stuff like that. The people that got to work with him. I was listening to a interview with Shelton Benjamin pretty recently. And somebody had asked him what it was like to work with Eddie, like so early in his career when they were doing like the Los Guerreros tag team kind of deal.
Yeah.
And he said this, like pretty much single-handedly, like Eddie Guerrero upped his level as like a professional wrestler, because not only was he just a great wrestler to work with, but he would also do things like making them work on the fly. Like they would like vaguely put a match together, and then Eddie would disappear for like the entire night, and they wouldn't be able to find him until it was ready to go out, and then they would just have to do it. And I'm like, man, like I want to learn how to do that.
That's skill
like,
though, isn't it? And the match will still be good. Like the match between Los Guerreros and Team Angle were superb.
Exactly. So I would want to use that as like a learning moment just for myself, like selfishly in wrestling for sure. Oh man, and then who's the third person? I think I'm going to get a little sentimental on you. It's not going to be like a public figure or a celebrity.
No, it doesn't have to be. It can be anyone, actually. Yeah, go for it.
I think, honestly, I would probably invite my dad, and I'll explain why. My dad was also somebody who was like really influential to my life. He was somebody who was like my biggest fan. And unfortunately, like he passed away when I was 9. So I feel like present day me would love to like invite him to a dinner party just to like pick his brain on like, I guess like the humanity end of things. Like I would, I've asked if like he thinks I'm developing into like a good person, because at the end of the day, that's all I really want to be. Like being a great wrestler is awesome, and that's always the goal. But at the end of the day, I just want to be like a good person, and I want to be able to leave this life a little bit better than I found it. And if I can kind of pick his brain about that and be like, do you think I'm doing a good job? Do you think that I'm really, leaving my mark on people the way that he left his mark on people? I think that would be something that I would like to do. So I'm really kind of covering all facets of my life here for sure.
That's amazing. No, I appreciate you sharing that, by the way. Like, sorry for your loss, and that's fucking awesome. It's probably the best answer I've heard. To be honest, it kind of left me a bit gobsmacked, but in a good way. That's so cool. That's so cool you shared that. So we've got for the brilliant party you're hosting, we've got Eddie Guerrero, Machine Gun Kelly, and your father. That's cool. Yeah. What would you serve them then quickly? Actually, what would you serve them all? Like one meal.
Oh gosh, I think we would do like some pretty good like green chili enchiladas. Those are like a New Mexico specialty. Like New Mexico is notorious for some green chili enchiladas. So I think I would serve that to everybody, and with probably some tequila for everybody. So we'd have a party. Like
I'm hit and miss with tequila, to be fair. Like I've had many sore heads from it, but I don't mind it now. It's grown on me.
Heck yeah.
But no, that's awesome. That is awesome. I think it's been a fun interview. Where can the listeners find you on social media?
Awesome. Well, the best part about me being on social media is that my handle is literally the same everywhere, from Twitter to Instagram to Facebook to TikTok to, PayPal and Cash App, if you're so kind. You can find me literally everywhere on the internet at SWest Spitfire. So Southwest Spitfire, just shortened. SWest Spitfire. Hit me up. I always love chatting. I always love talking. So, I'm always around.
Awesome. Is there anything else you want to plug, by the way, on the show? Any upcoming shows or any appearances? Anything? The floor is yours.
Absolutely. I guess the closest event that I have coming up, at least that I would love to plug, is I am going to be at Central Empire University. Goodness. Central Empire Wrestling. I got university on the brain, I guess. Central Empire Wrestling on June 4th. It's one of their biggest shows of the year. Matt Cardona is going to be there. Lisa Marie Barone is going to be there. Trevor Murdoch is going to be there.
I've seen you advertise it. That looks like that's a good card.
Absolutely. And so come on down. I believe Lisa Marie is going to be special guest repping my match. So that's going to be really cool.
That'd be cool.
And yeah, tickets still available for that. All the info's on my Facebook. And yeah, we'll see you there if you choose to come out to good old Iowa.
Awesome. I will put the details description below in case anyone's missed it. Specifically the PayPal Pay Me option as well. If anyone is generous, go for it. But no, thank you for coming on. I've actually had a really good chat, to be fair, and a few things I've learned as well, and I've had a good smile as well from this episode. For everyone that's listened to this episode, there is going to be more episodes of What Do You Call It podcast coming out this week. I'm a busy boy. What can I say? Popular. But if you can, while we're here, like, subscribe, share the content so I can continue doing this, so I can continue to get more guests and make you guys happy and enjoy my content more. But for now, everyone, Take care. Sorry, awkward pause there. No, I love doing it. I just don't know why. So, just making an ass myself. No, thank you. Hello there. I've got a special announcement for my next guest.
It's me, Joel Jackson, otherwise known as Jackson Hart on What Do You Call It podcast.
Yeah, I heard.